This special address is directed at the justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The Supreme Court will eventually have to preside over the outcome of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal hearings concerning the 2023 presidential election. I speak to your lordships on behalf of the peoples of Nigeria who are going to be affected by the outcome of the entire process. Court of Appeal, Supreme Court. I'm a lawyer, 30 years post call, and therefore I'm saying what I'm saying as a friend of the court. Amongst lawyers for the public, we know there's something called amicus curiae. For that petition that will come to the Supreme Court eventually, I'm very conscious of question of sub judice, not discussing what they're doing at the Court of Appeal now. Therefore, coming up front, as a friend of the court, taking advantage of the technologies available. Instead of having to wait for when I am in Nigeria to come to Abuja to file for how we now come to tell the court what we might be able to tell the court, to guide the court on what to do with Nigeria that's on the precipice. That Nigeria that can either go over or be pulled back. The Supreme Court is in an eminent position to do that bit of either pushing it over or pulling it back from collapse into, call it anarchy, call it whatever will happen if the center is not holding anymore. And so your lordships, when that matter eventually comes, we will be meaners on behalf of the peoples of Nigeria under the aegis, cooperating under the aegis of Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. Just in case some of what we have done and said had not come to your attention, we had proposed the deferment of further national elections under the 1999 Constitution on account of the disputations around the legitimacy of that Constitution. We went to court since 2007. Enohoro, Shoyinka, Ojukwu, Sisiono, Bankole, all of them plaintiffs, 10 plaintiffs. Of course, the Federal High Court began to, shift the goalposts all around. But the point was made. The Attorney General of Nigeria joined the issues with us and actually filed a response to indicate that he had no answer, that we were only inviting the court to interpret what is contained in the preamble against the backdrop of what is contained in Decree number 24 of 1999, printed inside the document. And so, Ninas, this address is not just on behalf of the peoples of Nigeria, but more particularly on behalf of the Ninas that has aggregated their grievances across the length and breadth of Nigeria, whether it's the Niger Delta or the Igbo East or the Yoruba West or the Middle Belt where people are being slaughtered. We have aggregated their grievances, posed them as constitutional questions that could be addressed around the table. And so today, we're inviting the Supreme Court of Nigeria to step into its policy jurisdiction. That policy jurisdiction that allows the Supreme Court to look at the law, look at the Constitution for where it is today, and then look beyond into society for what will sustain society. It's only the Supreme Court that has that jurisdiction. The other courts will have to work with whatever the law says for the day. But the Supreme Court has an extraordinary jurisdiction that is called policy jurisdiction. The Supreme Court is in a position to look at everything today coming from this election and all of what has gone wrong, coming from this constitution and all of what has gone wrong, to tell the country that we have to stop now to repair the ship of state. The ship of the Nigerian state must now go back to the harbor for refitting, for repair, for reconfiguration and reconstruction. If we do not return to harbor, that ship will sink. And it will be because those who have been told, who have been invited, who are in a position to arrest the situation are not doing that, have not done that. The executive branch has failed to do this. We invited Obasanjo into this discussion from 1999 when he became president. We spent 5 years trying to guide him on how to do it. But he chose to oppose it, to keep that constitution that has brought us to this sorry state. The National Assembly did not at all pay attention. They were busy sharing money and pretending they were going to amend a constitution that had not been made. We do not blame the judiciary because they just say, unless in this kind of originating invitation from the window of a friend of court, we invite the Supreme Court of Nigeria to help arrest the drift by redirecting Nigeria to transition as a possible settlement framework for what has happened. In the face of the union dispute, in the face of the unspoken issues, the undercurrents, the fractures and fault lines, can we find the courage to say that a transition, the type South Africa did in 1990, to work itself out of the apartheid bind, has become necessary? When the late President Gerald Watt, took ill and was unable to carry on, it became something that Dora Akunyele had to do some drama, and eventually National Assembly, after movement of money here and there, now say doctrine of necessity. Can the Supreme Court, within the context of this petition and the appeal that will come from it, can the Supreme Court take charge of the ruler of state in the face of the failure of the executive branch, in the failure of the legislative branch to as representatives of the people, come on the side of the people on this matter? They are sitting with the enemy. They are sitting in confiscation. They are sitting in hijack. They are cooperating to hold the sovereignty of the people and share the blood of the people in the kind of monies we see being shared amongst them, while the people they represent die on the streets, while the young people are trooping in every direction across the world. Some are trekking across the desert. We saw the video where a girl said that it's better for her to die in the desert than to return to that Nigeria. A young girl. She's done her school. No job for her. Your lordships, the body parts of young Nigerians have become steady supply for global human organ market. From Asia to Europe and everywhere in between. What are they running away from? To now submit themselves to where their organs can, on a routine basis. Sad. Because of their numbers. What is chasing them from Nigeria? It is within your reach to point at the source of that problem, call it by its name, and make an order that can take Nigeria to finding the solution. That unitary constitution of Nigeria, 1999 edition, which is the latest, as amended, as they will say, your lordships can direct this discussion to what will become the transition, the type that Frederick de Klerk had to initiate in South Africa. Ninas will be prepared to come to make further presentations in private, even ahead of if the registrar of the court can extend an invitation, can organize how it can happen, so that all the questions, we have documented framework for how it can be done. Work of 24 years that has traveled around the world, including to the UN Security Council, including to Capitol Hill. You saw it in form of policy when the US put Nigeria on the watch list for ethno-religious killings. You saw it when the UN sent Agnes Callamard, rapporteur mission, to come to find out why everybody was killing everybody in Nigeria. Can we continue to sit aloof and pretend it's not happening? When this ship of state, if it sinks, everybody will be in it, including your lordships. If this ship of state sinks, everybody in it will sink with it. Of course, those who are stealing money will jump into the next aircraft and go and become refugees overseas. But the ones who are not able to jump and run are going to live in the mess that it will leave behind. It is avoidable. The solution is already here. The work has been done. The remedy is already on the table. For every day we postpone this application of this remedy, no less than 5,000 people die across the length and breadth of Nigeria on account of this. That is the cost of keeping this constitution in place. I appeal to you, your lordships, to take a hard look at the situation and invoke your policy jurisdiction to look beyond what was written before and address what could salvage the society. We are prepared to provide the guidance that may be needed at no cost. The life of millions of people are at stake. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Brother Tony, for all your hard work. We can hear the lamentation of a father wanting more for his children, wanting more for our future, wanting more for our young ones that are dying in the Mediterranean Sea, while people are playing games. They think it's about going to prayer meeting and online meeting and all kinds of things. God help us. This is sad.
It is sad because the solution is on the table already, and we have all it to take to free our people. Not even just our people, but the entire black race. So why would people now not embrace that? See?
It beats me.
We have work to do.